I think we all got sick as kids and or teenagers. It happens to all of us. It happened to me a lot in particular though. Maybe it was just the living conditions I was in or the fact that I lived in a practically large city where big people get sick all the time. I would get sick around once every month or so. I know it doesn't sound too bad, but for me it was a living nightmare. I would have to stay in bed the whole day chomping on bland crackers and drinking water until I got better. My parents were clean freaks, so they wouldn't allow me to leave my room until I was better, for fear I would cover everything in the house with my germs, in their words, not mine. While this would happen often, it would be over relatively quickly, and nothing crazy would actually happen. I'd just stay in bed for a whole day, and would pass over in a day or so. There was that one time I had to stay in bed for a whole week because of the flu, and that was a story for another day. But one incident in particular was certainly more memorable than the others that I had a moment I'll never forget. I was homesick one day, big surprise, and I felt particularly bad that day. I had a massive fever, and since I wasn't moving that much, my entire body hurt like hell. I was 15 at the time and my parents were at the grocery store, leaving me alone to watch the house. I was in my room laying in bed with tissues stuffed to my nose and a bottle of water next to me. I was pretty bored and just laying there doing nothing. I decided to go downstairs and watch some TV, considering my parents weren't home and wouldn't have known what I was doing. So I made my way downstairs and ever so slowly slumped on the couch. I grabbed the remote off of the coffee table and turned the TV on. It took me a bit for the TV to activate, but after a minute or so, it eventually started working. The channel it was currently on Nickelodeon. I always loved Nickelodeon as a kid and still do now. The show was currently airing was SpongeBob, and I've always loved watching SpongeBob as a kid, and I still do. So I was excited to watch the episode I hadn't seen in a long time. Now there were some things got strange. I had turned on the TV just as the episode began, just so you get to expect. It started out with the normal intro, nothing strange so far. Once the intro ended, it showed the title card, and the title card of the episode was The Summoning, in yellow text with the red background. I thought it was pretty strange, considering that I never heard of this episode before. But I figured that it was probably just a brand new episode making its first premiere. The bubble transition appeared and showed the outside view of the Krusty Krab. From what I could see, it appeared to be a very busy day there. The animation appeared to be done in the style used from seasons 9 and onward, confirming that it was in fact a newer episode. It then cut to the inside of the restaurant. There was a line of customers. Sitting the cash register was of course Squidward. The person in the front of the line said, "I'll have one Krabby Patty with fries, please." Squidward sighed and called out to SpongeBob. "SpongeBob, I need one Krabby Patty and fries." Squidward then looked at SpongeBob through the window behind him and saw that SpongeBob was dancing in the kitchen to an upbeat pop song. He was jumping and around and dancing and kicking his legs in the air with the most obvious smile on his face. "SpongeBob!" Squidward called out to him again. SpongeBob turned around with one of his legs still in the air. However, as he was doing this, one of his shoes flew off of his foot and hit Squidward right in the head. SpongeBob laughed at this. Squidward looked pissed. Squidward then attempted to right into the head, but of course he attempted to tackle SpongeBob by jumping out of the window, and ended up landing face first on the stove. He let out a high-pitched scream and fell to the floor with burn marks on his face. "Oh, Squidward, are you okay?" SpongeBob asked. Squidward got up and looked even more pissed. "No, you bubbling buffoon, I'm gonna..." Squidward was cut off by the sound of doors opening. It was Patrick, appearing to wear a blindfold and welding jellyfish net. "Hey, SpongeBob, you want to go jellyfishing?" Patrick called out, swinging his net around. Squidward walked out of the kitchen and walked up to Patrick. "What do you want, Patrick?" Squidward said, still angry. "Who's there? Heh heh." Patrick said, still waving his net around. "It's me, you stupid. I did. Oh!" Patrick unknowingly hit Squidward in the face with his net. Squidward held his face out in pain a few filled grunts, and then he stumbled and knocked over a few tables and chairs, some of them even having customers sitting in them. "Hey, watch where you're going," a stranger called out. Squidward continued to stumble until he eventually bumped into a pole and fell over. A few of the patrons actually got up and left, supposedly because Squidward's actions were disturbing in the peace. Mr. Krabs burst through his office and yelled, "What in the game of Neptune is going on here?" Squidward got up from the ground covered in bruises, still having burn marks on his face. SpongeBob and Patrick are just being annoying and ruining the whole day," Squidward said in response. "Well, maybe you should stop complaining and get back to work, Squidward," Mr. Krabs called out. Then he went back to his office and slammed the door. Squidward's face then turned red with rage. "I hate that stupid town and all the residents within it," Squidward yelled in fury. "I'm going home." Squidward stomped out of the door, made his way back to the house. As he was walking back to the house, a suspicious black car pulled out in front of him, stopping Squidward in his tracks. 3 suspicious robbed figures with black fedoras and sunglasses got out of the car and they approached Squidward. "Excuse me, sir, can we take a moment of your time?" one of the robbed figures asked in a soft voice. What?" Squidward asked in confusion. The robbed figure motioned his hands towards the car, intimating that they wanted Squidward to get inside. "Come," the robbed figure said. Squidward and the robbed figures got in the car, with Squidward in the back seat squished between 2 other robbed figures next to him. One of the robbed figures then got to the driver's seat, put on a seatbelt, and drove off. Squidward had an uncomfortable and concerned look on his face. "What's going on? What's happening?" Squidward asked. "All right, listen here, tentacle head," the robbed figure said, driving the seat. "We know who you are. We always have. We're quite familiar with you. In fact, we are here to help you." "Help me? But how?" Squidward asked. "Are you familiar with a certain sea sponge working at a certain fast food joint?" the robbed figure asked. "You mean SpongeBob?" "Yes," Squidward replied. "And you hate him, right? Like thoroughly despise?" the robbed figure asked. Yeah," Squidward asked. "We all may be able to do something about that, free of cost," the robbed figure said. "We are familiar with some high power, basically a god, and he may be able to do a little something with your old spongy friend." "I wouldn't exactly call him my friend, but I'm intrigued," Squidward responded. "All right, I'll take you to your place and we'll discuss there," the robe figure said. "Oh, and by the way, you could call me ZZ. All right," Squidward said. "I gotta admit this episode seemed normal, if not a bit weird. I didn't think it would get any weirder, but boy was I wrong." The bubble transition appeared and it showed Squidward and ZZ and the rest of the robe figures arriving at their destination, a large ancient cobblestone pyramid perched on Sandy Hill, with stairs leading up towards the entrance. Moss and other forms of plant life engulfed the pyramid. "What's this?" "This is the place," ZZ said. Everyone stepped out of the car, made their way towards the entrance. "What is this place?" Squidward asked. "You'll see soon enough. Come on," ZZ said. ZZ opened the pair of double doors, and it cut to the show inside of the pyramid. It was a large square-shaped room with a large pentagram in the middle and what appeared to be an activated portal against the wall. A large chandelier hung from the ceiling, lighting up the area. There were a few tables pressed around the sides of the walls, a few books and other items on them. What? Squidward stuttered. "I see you must be confused," said ZZ. "Allow me to explain. This is where we'll be summoning the god I mentioned earlier. If all goes according to plan, we would snatch the sponge up like an apple tree and take him away forever. This seems like a bit of a risk, don't you think?" Squidward asked. "Nah," ZZ replied. "Go get your yellow friend and bring him back here so we can begin the ceremony. We'll be waiting." Okay. Be right back," Squidward said. Squidward ran out of the door and ran over to the Krusty Krab to fetch SpongeBob. The bubble transition appeared to show an outside of the Krusty Krab. Squidward ran in towards the entrance, and then it cuts to the inside view of the Krusty Krab. Squidward burst through the door before stopping to take a breath. Sweat beaded down his face. "SpongeBob! SpongeBob!" Squidward said in between breaths. SpongeBob then burst through the kitchen door. Squidward! SpongeBob yelled in excitement. You're back! Where have you been? Never mind that, Squidward said. Look, I have something I want to show you. Come with me. Squidward grabbed SpongeBob's hand. Okay, SpongeBob said. Squidward and SpongeBob then proceeded to walk out of the door and make their way toward the temple. Where are you taking me? SpongeBob asked. Oh, you'll see. Ha ha ha. Squidward replied. He had a sinister look on his face. He then let out a maniacal laugh, and the bubble transition appeared and it showed an outside view of the pyramid. With Squidward and SpongeBob walking towards the entrance, it then cut to the inside of the pyramid, with SpongeBob and Squidward walking through the door. ZZ boys, I brought him here, Squidward announced. SpongeBob's eyes lit up as he stared at the dimly lit interior. The chandelier had been turned off, and instead of a horde of candles circling the pentagram, lit up the room. Wow, SpongeBob said in awe. Pretty lights. SpongeBob was completely oblivious to what was happening. Ah, yes, little sponge dude, ZZ said. We've been expecting you. Stand right there, please. He pointed towards the center of the pentagram. Haha, okay, SpongeBob said as he gracefully walked to the center of the pentagram. Yo, Squidface, you ready? ZZ asked. It's Squidward, and yes I am, Squidward replied. Alright, stand next to me, ZZ said. Squidward made his way over next to ZZ. ZZ whipped out a book from the air and began. Okay, Squidward, repeat after me. Ah, yes, sir, Squidward replied. Alright, ZZ said as he opened up the book and turned a few pages to every few seconds. Oh, my great god of destruction, sweet mother of all things evil, accept my offer, my sacrifice, my gift to you is my sweet prince. Squidward repeated that phrase as well as the other robbed figures that were there as well. They repeated this phrase once more, and during that, the ground started to shake fiercely, opening the portal lit up, and beginning glowing as it activated. Suddenly a large, thin, human-like creature with black skin, red eyes, and spikes climbed out of the portal. It looked completely towered over Squidward, and SpongeBob and the others. The creature let out a loud ground-shaking roar, exposing the long, sharp teeth and his snake-like tongue. SpongeBob and Squidward only let out a loud scream and curled into a ball into the floor out of fear. Food! Food! I need food! The creature boomed. Food? Squidward asked. What are you talking about? Nothing, ZZ replied. Lord, I have something special for you. He picked up SpongeBob off the ground and held it up for the creature to see. This creature said, stroking his chin. I'll accept it. The creature held out his hand, and ZZ had placed SpongeBob on the palm of his hand. Well, what's happening? SpongeBob said shakingly. Oh, nothing, ZZ replied. Thank you, the monster creature said, as he slowly made his way through the portal, laying out an evil echoing laugh the whole way. Once it made its way through the portal, the ground stopped shaking and the portal deactivated. Squidward was staring in awe of what just happened. What just happened? Squidward asked, still in awe and confusion. The mission was successful, ZZ said, and now your spongy friend is gone forever, and he is never coming back. I hope you're happy. Wait, are you serious? Squidward stuttered. Indeed, ZZ replied. You could live the rest of your life in peace and prosperity. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day alone, with no one bothering you, no sponge to bother you 24/7, nothing. Just peace and quiet forever. Squidward was there in complete shock. He would never have to see SpongeBob ever again. Oh my god, he's finally gone. I can't believe this is happening. Ha 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 ha. I'm free. Squidward ran out of the door still yelling, I'm free. The bubble transition appeared, and it showed the outside view of Squidward's house, with Squidward still running for the back door. It then cut to the inside of Squidward's house, and then he burst through the door. He gleefully jumped onto the couch, up and down on it. Ha ha, SpongeBob's finally gone, he shouted. He finally calmed himself down and slumped down towards the couch. Now I can finally watch some TV alone, without SpongeBob bothering me. He grabbed the TV remote off the couch and turned on the TV. He had a satisfied look on his face. It stayed on this shot for about 7 seconds, and Squidward let out a sigh of pressure and relief. It then cut to Squidward at the Krusty Krab, in front of the cash register with the same named satisfied expression on his face. He then looked over behind him, and he would expect SpongeBob to appear, but there was, of course, no SpongeBob. Squidward let out another pleasured sigh. It then cut to the shot of Squidward walking through the park. But this time his face seemed more sad. He still had the satisfied look on his face, but there's hints of sadness and monotone to it. He let out another pleasured sigh, but now it sounded more dissatisfied than before. Then it cut to Squidward sitting on the parked bench, and even with a sadder face than ever. He then let out another sigh, this time sounding even more sad and monotone. The cycle would continue with Squidward at different places, eating at a fancy restaurant, at a concert, walking home, entering his home, and his face getting lit up by more and more monotone depressed as this sighs becoming more and more dissatisfied. And he then finally ended with Squidward laying on his bed with a complete monotone depressed look on his face. He was lying on his bed. Squidward said in a monotone, "Huh?" It then faded to a flashback showing a montage of different clips showing SpongeBob and Squidward in various different fun together. Going to an amusement park, riding the roller coaster, eating cotton candy together, playing at the park. It ended with a clip of the two hugging. The flashback ends and then fades back to Squidward, still laying on his bed. Maybe SpongeBob isn't so bad," he said in a soft voice. Maybe he's more important in my life than I thought. I gotta get him back." It then cuts in the outside view of Squidward's home, with Squidward bursting through the door, sprinting down towards the pyramid. He was determined to get SpongeBob back and fix his mistake. It showed Squidward running through various locations, including a city, a meadow, a desert, and even a volcanic-looking area, until he was reaching the pyramid. It then cuts to the inside view of the pyramid, and showed Squidward kicking the door down. He walked and shouted, "Hey, scary monster dude!" But nothing happened. The chant. "Oh, my great Lord of Destruction, sweet mother of all things evil, accept my offer and sacrifice, my gift to you, my sweet prince." Suddenly the ground began shaking, and the portal lit up and activated. Suddenly the creature emerged from the portal, let out a ground-shaking roar. "Where is my food?" the creature boomed. Scary monster man," Squidward said. "I actually don't have food for you. I was just wondering if I could have my friend SpongeBob back." "SpongeBob?" the creature said. "You mean this?" He held out his hand, and in the palm of his creature lay SpongeBob. His wrists were tied, his mouth had a piece of tape over it, and it was sprinkled what appeared to be like salt and drizzled of what appeared to be A1 steak sauce. "I was just about to eat this little fella." "Ate him," Squidward said. "Zay never mentioned that. If I had known before, I would never have agreed to this. SpongeBob's annoying and all, but he doesn't deserve to be eaten." Well, that's too bad, so sad," the creature said. He leaned his head back and expanded his jaw, exposing his all-wide sharp teeth, and held SpongeBob over it. Squidward started to panic. What was he going to do to stop this monster from eating SpongeBob? Suddenly he notices something. Sitting on the other table's a blaster ray. Squidward had no other choice. He picked up the blaster ray from the table and shot the creature. The shot from the blaster ray created a roar around the creature, and the creature let out a loud screech before exploding, causing a massive earthquake. SpongeBob fell out of the creature's hand as it exploded. Luckily, Squidward caught SpongeBob in his hand as he fell. "Alright, come on, SpongeBob. We gotta get out of here now," Squidward said frantically. "Okay," SpongeBob said. Squidward let out the doors as he could, with SpongeBob still in his arms. Right as they made out the door, the pyramid started to crumble and crack, eventually exploding into a million pieces. Squidward barely survived the explosion by driving down the stairs at the last possible moment. They land on the harsh concrete relatively unscraped, and when they looked behind them, all was left of the pyramid was a cloud of dust and a hill. Squidward started panting and placed this SpongeBob on the ground. "Oh, Squidward, you saved me," said SpongeBob as he hugged Squidward and began crying tears of joy. "Oh, SpongeBob, I'm so sorry," Squidward said as he hugged SpongeBob back. I should have never fed you to that horrible creature. If I had known this would happen. Squidward then let go of SpongeBob. You know, SpongeBob, I realize today, even though you can be really annoying sometimes and ruin my day a lot, you gave me the excitement it really needs. You know, I never say this in my entire life. I like you as a friend, SpongeBob. Aw, I like you as a friend too, Squidward, SpongeBob said as he wrapped his arm around Squidward's shoulders. Come on, buddy. Let's go home, Squidward said as he wrapped his arms around SpongeBob's shoulder and then walked off into the sunset together as friends. The bubble transition appeared and it transitioned to the outside view of the Krusty Krab. Then it cut to the kitchens, where I see SpongeBob dancing the same dance tune as he was before. Squidward peered through the window and said, Hey, SpongeBob, mind if I join you? Sure, Squidward, SpongeBob said. Squidward then dived through the window and successfully avoided the stove this time. He landed on the door and began to dance the perfect synecdoche with SpongeBob. It stayed on this for a few seconds before cutting to the outside view of the Krusty Krab. SpongeBob and Squidward's laughter can be heard, in that the episode faded to black and finally ended. So yeah, that was the episode. Admittedly, it was really freaky. I mean, the rituals, the sacrifice, SpongeBob getting eaten by a malicious demon, that's pretty messed up for a kid-friendly show as SpongeBob to get into. And oh god, that freaking creature ate SpongeBob is going to have me nightmares. Well, it almost did. I attempted to do some research on this episode, but I couldn't find anything that could potentially give me an answer. According to my research, I learned that having a high fever can potentially cause some hallucinations. From what I really read, it only affected some people, so I'm not entirely sure. Although I could say this, even though this episode was freaky as hell, I actually enjoyed it. It was fun, and action-packed, really got actually a bit nicer for character development for Squidward. So if this episode was real and ever airs on TV, I recommend giving it a look. Although I can't say whether or not this episode is real or not, it might have been maybe just a hallucination caused by my fever, or it could have been really entirely different. I can never be too sure though, and I don't think I'll ever get an answer.